The air inside the bustling international terminal was a swirling tapestry of anticipation and nervous energy. Families embraced, business travelers hurried with purpose, and the pervasive hum of 1,000 quiet conversations created a unique airport symphony. Amidst this organized chaos, Officer David Miller, a figure of calm professionalism, moved with practiced ease. His K9 partner, Axel, a magnificent German shepherd whose sleek, dark fur rippled with muscle, trotted faithfully by his side, his intelligent eyes constantly scanning, assessing. It was a routine sweep, just another Tuesday afternoon in their demanding careers, a familiar rhythm of duty that had become second nature to them both. Miller, a man whose silvering temples hinted at years of dedicated service, had seen it all. A decorated K9 handler, he possessed a quiet strength and an unwavering trust in his four-legged companion. His calm demeanor was legendary among his colleagues, a comforting constant in an often unpredictable world. Axel, for his part, was more than just a dog. He was an extension of Miller, a loyal, highly intelligent German shepherd renowned across the force for his unparalleled detection skills. Their bond was an unspoken language, a deep, intuitive understanding forged through countless hours of training and shared experiences, making them an almost unstoppable duo. They were systematically working their way through the check-in area, past the long lines and the brightly lit airline counters, when Axel's usual purposeful gait faltered. A subtle shift in his posture, a slight stiffening of his powerful frame, caught Miller's immediate attention. Axel's nose, usually held high, suddenly dipped low, sniffing intently at the base of a check-in counter for a popular international airline. Miller watched, his senses now on high alert, as Axel's focus intensified. The dog's tail, which had been wagging gently moments before, now held rigid. Then, without warning, Axel stopped dead, his paws planted firmly on the polished floor. A low, guttural growl rumbled in his chest, a sound so uncharacteristic of the usually composed animal that Miller's heart gave a sudden lurch. Before Miller could even issue a command, Axel began to dig, frantically and relentlessly, at a narrow gap beneath the counter. His claws scraped against the metal and plastic, a jarring sound that cut through the airport's ambient noise. "Axel, heel!" Miller commanded, his voice firm but laced with concern. Axel ignored him. He continued digging, his powerful head thrust as far as it could go into the cramped space, his body straining with an almost desperate urgency. Miller tried to gently pull him back, his hand on Axel's harness, but the dog resisted fiercely, an unyielding force of instinct and determination. This was unlike anything Miller had ever seen from his partner. Axel was always precise, always obedient, a model of K9 discipline. His current behavior was inexplicable, bordering on aggressive and deeply unnerving. The commotion, once subtle, was now undeniable. Heads began to turn. Passengers, initially curious, now watched with growing apprehension. Airport staff paused their duties, their faces etched with confusion and a nascent unease. The frantic scratching, the low growls emanating from the typically placid K9, painted a picture of something profoundly wrong. Miller knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that Axel wasn't playing. This wasn't a squirrel in the wall or a dropped piece of food. This was something else entirely, something that had triggered every alarm bell in Axel's highly tuned detection system. As more eyes fixed on them, Miller felt the weight of growing concern. He had to trust Axel, but he also had a responsibility to maintain order and prevent panic. The internal conflict was immediate and sharp. Before we delve deeper into this nail-biting story and uncover what Axel was so desperately trying to unearth, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss a single moment of this incredible tale or any of the other gripping stories we bring you. Miller gritted his teeth, his grip tightening on Axel's harness. But the powerful German Shepherd was unyielding, a force of nature driven by an unseen urgency. He tried to physically pull Axel away from the counter, a firm command issuing from his lips. But the dog resisted with every fiber of his being, a low, guttural whine escaping his throat, a sound Miller had rarely heard, one that spoke of deep distress and unwavering alarm. This wasn't the usual playful stubbornness. This was something far more profound, a primal instinct overriding training and discipline. Miller's extensive experience, honed over years of working with these exceptional animals, screamed at him that this anomaly was, in fact, a crucial warning. He could feel the eyes of the growing crowd, their whispers like a rising tide of judgment and fear. Then, a new, unwelcome presence materialized. Airport security supervisor Bethany Thorne, a stern woman whose professional demeanor bordered on icy, strode purposefully towards them. Her expression was a clear mixture of impatience and thinly veiled disapproval. "Officer Miller, what exactly is happening here?" she demanded, her voice cutting through the murmuring like a sharp blade. "We can't have a K9 unit causing a scene in a busy terminal. Control your dog." Her words implied a lack of control, a questioning of Miller's competence which stung him more than he let on. The tension in the air thickened, palpable enough to taste, as the small gathering of curious onlookers swelled, their faces a canvas of confusion and increasing anxiety. Some pointed, others openly stared, and a few already had their phones out, snapping photos or recording. The unknown object Axel was so fiercely fixated on became a sinister, invisible antagonist, its presence magnified by the supervisor's skepticism and the public's growing unease. Thorne crossed her arms, her gaze unwavering as Axel continued his frantic, desperate attempts to dig under the counter. "If you can't get him under control, officer, we'll have to restrain him," she stated, her words dropping like cold stones, implying not just a threat to Axel, but a challenge to Miller's authority and judgment. The thought of Axel being forcibly removed, his instincts silenced, sent a jolt of protective anger through Miller. He knew, with absolute certainty, that Axel was onto something significant, something dangerous. Trusting Axel's unerring instincts above all else, Miller knelt, trying to peer into the cramped, shadowy space beneath the counter. The lighting was poor, and the angle offered little visibility. It was a dark, narrow void, perfect for concealing something sinister. He couldn't see anything specific, but Axel's unwavering focus was all the confirmation he needed. "Supervisor Thorne," he began, his voice calm despite the internal turmoil, "Axel is indicating a serious threat. I need this area cleared immediately from the public, and I need maintenance to open up this section beneath the counter. We need to see what he's found." His request, however, was met with resistance. Thorne hesitated, her eyes flickering between Miller, the frenzied dog, and the now significant crowd. "An evacuation for a dog acting up? Officer, this is a major airport. We can't just shut down a check-in area without concrete evidence." Her words were a frustrating echo of bureaucratic procedure, delaying critical time that Miller felt slipping away like sand through his fingers. He felt a desperate urge to act, to bypass the protocols, but he also knew the consequences of unilateral action. Every second she delayed felt like a lifeline fraying, and a cold dread began to settle in his stomach. The true nature of the hidden threat remained obscured, But Axel's conviction was a loud, silent scream that something truly terrible lurked in the shadows. Axel's frantic digging intensified dramatically, a desperate, almost primal urge driving his paws deeper into the confined space beneath the counter. His low growls were no longer just a sign of his peculiar focus. They were punctuated by sharp, frustrated whines, echoing the urgency brewing within him. Officer Miller, watching his partner with a mixture of growing dread and unwavering trust, felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. The airport security supervisor, her patience visibly thinning, finally relented, a curt nod signaling permission for the maintenance crew to proceed. Her expression, however, left no doubt of her expectation for a swift and uneventful resolution. As the burly maintenance workers, now armed with tools, cautiously approached the counter, the murmuring crowd hushed. Every eye was fixed on Axel, whose entire body vibrated with an unseen energy, his snout pressed hard against the plywood. The sounds of tools scraping and prying at the counter's panels seemed deafening in the sudden silence. Then, as a section of the false bottom was carefully pried away, a new sound emerged, faint at first, barely perceptible over the creak of wood and metal. It was a rhythmic, almost mechanical, tick-tock, tick-tock. The sound was subtle, yet it sent an immediate, undeniable shiver through everyone standing nearby. Miller's breath caught in his throat. He exchanged a wide-eyed glance with the supervisor, whose earlier skepticism melted away, replaced by a stark, dawning horror. The tick-tock grew incrementally louder as more of the obstruction was removed, each beat a chilling pronouncement in the increasingly tense atmosphere. Finally, with a last wrenching pull, a large panel gave way, revealing a dark recess. There, nestled amongst some loose wiring and dust, lay a crudely wrapped package. Its utilitarian, unassuming appearance belied the terror it now invoked. The tick-tock was undeniable now, a relentless, insistent rhythm filling the air, vibrating through the floorboards and into their very bones. Panic, a cold, creeping sensation, began to ripple through the small group that had gathered, their faces paling under the harsh airport lighting. Miller's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat echoing the package's ominous rhythm. He understood, with a sickening lurch, the profound gravity of the situation that Axel had instinctively sensed from the very beginning. His training, his years of experience, suddenly coalesced into a single, terrifying realization. This wasn't merely contraband. This was something far more sinister. Axel, seeing the package now fully exposed, let out a sharp, urgent bark, unlike any sound Miller had ever heard from him, a desperate, unequivocal warning. As the maintenance crew recoiled in shock, their tools clattering to the floor, the full horror of the situation became undeniably clear. The brown paper wrapping on the package was torn in places, revealing wires, a small circuit board, and, most terrifying of all, a digital display. The numbers on the timer glowed in malevolent red, counting down with horrifying rapidity. They were frighteningly low. A collective gasp escaped from those who saw it, a horrified exhalation that seemed to suck all the oxygen from the air. The ticking wasn't just a sound anymore. It was the deafening, relentless heartbeat of the scene, each tick a precious second stolen from their lives, pushing them closer to an unimaginable explosion. The mundane airport terminal had transformed into a crucible of terror, all because of Axel's unwavering instinct, the realization that a live bomb, overtly ticking down to detonation, lay beneath the check-in counter, sent icy tendrils of fear snaking through Officer Miller's veins. It wasn't a speculative threat anymore. It was an undeniable, tangible presence. Across the bustling airport, alarms began to blare, a harsh, insistent wail that sliced through the general din, initiating a full-scale evacuation. The calm, organized chaos of a busy terminal instantly fractured into screams, panicked shouts, and the thunderous rush of thousands of feet. Miller watched, horrified, as families were separated, luggage abandoned, and a frantic primal urge to escape took hold of the crowd. He was acutely aware with a chilling clarity of the potential for mass casualties, the image of bodies strewn across the polished marble floor flashing unbidden in his mind. His focus narrowed with a terrifying intensity. The bomb. Axel. The relentless, terrifying ticking sound that seemed to synchronize with his own pounding heart. Every external stimulant faded into a dull hum, replaced by an almost hyper-aware perception of the immediate threat. He knew, with absolute certainty, that this moment would forever carve itself into his memory, a before and after watershed in his life. The weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders, heavy and suffocating. A surge of adrenaline, cold and sharp, coursed through him, sharpening his senses but also highlighting the impossible dilemma he faced. He needed to get the device outside, away from the collapsing structure of the terminal, away from the throngs of terrified civilians. But time, that merciless, unforgiving tyrant, was rapidly running out. He glanced at the digital display again, the flashing red numbers mocking his impotence. Without proper equipment, without the specialized knowledge of EOD specialists, every second was a gamble, a roll of the dice with hundreds, perhaps thousands, of lives at stake. His years of rigorous training, the countless drills and simulations, flooded his mind, a torrent of protocols and procedures, yet none seemed adequate for the raw, immediate threat before him. The emotional weight was immense, a crushing burden that threatened to paralyze him. Axel, his loyal companion, remained by the device, a sentinel of pure, unadulterated focus. His body language was a vivid tapestry of extreme urgency and danger. He had ceased his frantic digging, now standing rigid, nose twitching, a low, continuous growl rumbling in his chest. He prevented anyone from approaching too haphazardly, subtly shifting his weight, his keen eyes darting between the device and any movement that might threaten it. He was instinctively guarding it, an intelligent awareness of its lethal potential emanating from him. His unwavering presence, his resolute stance, gave Miller a morbid yet strangely comforting sense of direction. It was as if Axel was silently urging him forward, confirming the grim reality and demanding action. The dog's unyielding commitment was a stark contrast to the human chaos erupting around them, a steady point in a rapidly tilting world. Miller felt a potent mix of gratitude and fear, knowing that Axel, with his pure, unadulterated instinct, had once again proven to be his most invaluable partner. The decision, Miller knew, was no longer a matter of protocol or procedure. It was a matter of sheer will and desperate courage. The sheer terror of the visible timer, rapidly devouring precious seconds, galvanized Miller into a frantic but focused action. EOD specialists were still minutes away, perhaps even longer given the mounting chaos of the full airport evacuation that had just been announced over the loudspeakers. He couldn't wait. Every fiber of his being screamed to act, to neutralize the threat, to somehow contain this imminent disaster. He looked at Axel, whose eyes, full of fierce intelligence, met his, a silent understanding passing between them. Miller needed to improvise, and quickly. His mind raced, sifting through training protocols for situations where specialized equipment wasn't immediately available. His gaze swept the immediate vicinity, searching for anything, a blanket, a trolley, anything that could offer even a fraction of containment or protection. A small kiosk selling travel accessories and snacks stood nearby, abandoned by its terrified vendor. His eyes landed on a stack of thick, heavy-duty travel blankets, usually marketed for long-haul flights. They weren't an explosive containment bag, but they were the best, perhaps only, option he had. "Clear a path," Miller shouted, his voice cutting through the rising din of the evacuation. He moved with a newfound, desperate speed, grabbing several of the thickest blankets. Returning to the counter, he carefully, painstakingly, knelt beside the ticking device. The red numbers on the display seemed to mock him, each diminishing digit a stark reminder of the impossibility of their predicament. His hands, though trained for precision under pressure, trembled slightly as he began to meticulously wrap the package. He started with one blanket, meticulously tucking it around the crudely constructed bomb, then another and another, building layers of fabric. He worked with agonizing slowness and absolute precision, acutely aware that any sudden jolt, any misstep, could be catastrophic. The weight of his entire career, the lives of hundreds of people, rested in his trembling hands. Axel, sensing the immense gravity, stood guard, a silent, unwavering sentinel by his side, his body language communicating extreme urgency and danger, ensuring no one accidentally bumped into Miller or the device. Once the makeshift bundle felt as secure as he could make it, a heavy, strangely soft, and utterly terrifying package, Miller gingerly lifted it. The weight was substantial, the ticking still audible, muffled but persistent, a sinister heartbeat against his chest. "Axel, lead the way, nearest exit, fast," he commanded, his voice tight with adrenaline. Axel, without hesitation, pivoted and began navigating through the now frenzied airport terminal, weaving between panicked travelers. As Miller emerged from the check-in area, cradling the blanket-wrapped object, a new wave of terror, raw and visceral, swept through the evacuating crowd. Their cries of fear intensified, morphing into screams as they caught sight of the large, ominous bundle in the officer's arms. People pushed and shoved with desperate urgency, abandoning luggage, tripping over each other in their haste to escape. The collective panic was palpable, a suffocating force that threatened to engulf him. He could hear shouts of "bomb" echoing through the vast space, transforming the orderly evacuation into a chaotic stampede. Miller, despite the rising tide of fear, forced himself to remain calm, his eyes fixed on Axel's path, his mind singularly focused on reaching an isolated area, away from the throngs of terrified civilians. Each step was a battle against the human tide, against the instinct to run, against the agonizing knowledge of the ticking payload he carried. He could feel the vibrations of the device against his chest, a constant chilling reminder that his time was almost up. His goal was the tarmac, the vast expanse of open air, where a detonation, however inevitable, would cause the least harm. The chaos of the evacuation created new, unforeseen dangers for Miller. He clutched the blanket-wrapped device protectively, his arms aching, as he struggled to maintain balance amidst the surging, terrified crowd. People, driven by primal fear, pushed past him, their faces contorted in silent screams. He nearly stumbled over a discarded suitcase, its contents spilling onto the polished floor, but managed to regain his footing, his eyes fixed on the distant promise of an exit. Every jostle, every bump, sent a fresh jolt of adrenaline through his system, a stark reminder of the volatile package he carried. He had to navigate around abandoned luggage carts, their wheels tangled, and confused individuals who moved in erratic, unpredictable patterns, their panic a palpable, almost physical barrier. The public's fear, once a distant echo, had now become a tangible antagonist, hindering his every move, threatening to make his already impossible task even more perilous. Each step was a battle against the human tide, a desperate fight for clear passage. He could feel the vibrations of the airport structure beneath his feet, the muffled roar of panicked shouts and frantic announcements swirling around him, yet his focus remained laser-sharp on his objective, getting this threat out into the open, away from innocent lives. Axel, however, moved with an instinctual grace that defied the pandemonium. His agile body weaved through the throngs of people, a low-slung, furry shadow darting between legs and around obstacles. He worked tirelessly, almost telepathically, to create even the slimmest path for Miller, his body a living shield. Occasionally, with a gentle but firm nip at an ankle or a well-placed shove with his snout, Axel would clear a momentary space, directing the panicked masses just enough for Miller to squeeze through. His eyes, usually so keen and observant, were now narrowed, fixed intently on the route ahead, his ears swiveling to catch every sound, every shift in the human current. His presence, a steadfast beacon of loyalty and purpose amidst the utter disarray, provided Miller with an odd, unexpected sense of comfort and direction. In the maelstrom of terror, Axel was Miller's unwavering compass, his silent partner in this desperate, high-stakes dance with death. He was the K-9 officer's eyes, scanning for openings, and his ears, listening for the path of least resistance, guiding him through a labyrinth of fear and desperation. Without Axel, Miller knew, he would be hopelessly tangled, delayed, and perhaps even overcome by the sheer force of the frantic exodus. They were agonizingly close to the main exit, the automatic doors shimmering like a portal to salvation, leading out onto an empty tarmac patch. Miller could already feel the cooler, fresher air on his face, taste the promise of open space. His breath hitched in his throat, a silent prayer of hope escaping his lips, just as his outstretched hand brushed against the cool metal of the doorframe. A low rumble vibrated through the air, quickly escalating into a sudden, muffled, yet undeniably loud bang. The sound, originating from within the thick blanket clutched tight in his arms, was not the earth-shattering explosion he had so vividly feared, not the catastrophic blast that would tear through the terminal. Instead, it was a heavy, concussive thud, like a giant's fist slamming into a thick wall. The force of it, though contained, was still immense, a blunt impact that briefly knocked Miller completely off his feet. He stumbled, his legs giving out beneath him, sending him sprawling forward, the blanket-wrapped device still miraculously held tight against his chest as he hit the ground. A cloud of thick, acrid smoke momentarily billowed from the tightly wound fabric, then just as quickly dissipated into the frantic air. Miller lay sprawled on the cold, hard floor, the thick blanket still clutched tightly to his chest, his ears ringing from the muffled but powerful concussion. His head throbbed, a dull ache blooming behind his eyes as he fought to clear the sudden disorientation. For a terrifying, fleeting moment, he wasn't sure if he was still intact, if Axel was still beside him. His vision swam, the panicked faces of fleeing passengers blurring into indistinct shapes. He instinctively tightened his grip on the blanket, a primal need to protect remaining even in his dazed state. With a groan, he pushed himself up onto his elbows, his eyes darting frantically around, searching for his loyal partner. Then he saw him. Axel, though momentarily startled by the bang, was quickly recovering, shaking his head vigorously, his tail giving a short, sharp wag as if to reassure Miller. The dog had been a foot or two ahead, his body slightly angled, affording him some protection from the direct force. Miraculously, Both were largely unharmed, saved by the cushioning of the heavy blanket and the quick thinking that had led them to the wide-open expanse of the glass-enclosed exit, away from the dense crowds and enclosed spaces of the terminal. The bang, though contained, had still echoed through the vast airport, a deep, unsettling sound that momentarily silenced the cacophony of the evacuation before igniting a fresh wave of panic and shouts. People surged forward with renewed terror, their cries of alarm piercing the air. Just as Miller was pushing himself fully upright, a flurry of activity erupted around him. Two heavily armed individuals, clad in tactical gear and bearing the distinct insignia of the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team, rushed towards him, their faces grim but relieved. They were followed closely by their lead technician, a calm, authoritative woman whose eyes immediately went to the blanket-wrapped object. "Officer, are you all right? Is the device secured?" she barked, her voice cutting through the remaining chaos. Miller nodded, still feeling a bit lightheaded, as he carefully relinquished the blanket and its dangerous contents to their expert hands. The EOD team quickly, but with immense precision, secured the partially detonated device. A quick preliminary assessment confirmed their initial fears. It was indeed a bomb, designed to cause significant damage, even in its partially exploded state. The immediate danger, the terrifying ticking, the impending doom, was finally over. A wave of profound, soul-deep relief washed over Miller, so intense it almost buckled his knees again. He felt the tension drain from every muscle, leaving him utterly exhausted, but incredibly grateful. In the ensuing minutes, the airport supervisor, the same no-nonsense individual who had initially questioned Miller's judgment and Axel's behavior, approached them, his expression now one of deep respect and genuine admiration. "Officer Miller," he began, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "There are no words. Your actions, your dog's instincts, you saved countless lives today. I was wrong to doubt you. I apologize." He extended a hand, which Miller shook firmly, a silent understanding passing between them. News crews, having been alerted to the potential disaster, quickly descended upon the scene. Microphones were shoved into faces, cameras flashed relentlessly, eager to report on the averted catastrophe and the incredible, heroic actions of the K-9 team that had single-handedly prevented an unthinkable tragedy. Miller, still slightly dazed but regaining his composure, stood tall, Axel dutifully at his side, both basking in the unexpected glow of public recognition, a testament to their unwavering bravery. The immediate aftermath of the muffled detonation saw a swirl of confusion and renewed panic. EOD teams, who had been scrambling towards the terminal's main exit, now surged forward, their faces grim, their movements precise. They quickly secured the partially detonated device, its casing ruptured but surprisingly intact, a testament to Miller's quick thinking and the blanket's cushioning effect. Their inspection confirmed the chilling reality. It was indeed a bomb, specifically crafted to cause maximum structural damage and extensive casualties, its timer designed to coincide with a peak departure period. The danger, in its most immediate form, was finally over. A profound, almost debilitating wave of relief washed over Miller, so intense it nearly buckled his knees. He sank to the ground, pulling Axel close, burying his face in the dog's fur, the scent of his loyal partner, a grounding force amidst the lingering smell of ozone and fear. News of the averted disaster spread like wildfire. Airport employees, initially skeptical and anxious, now flooded the area, offering Miller and Axel fervent thanks. The airport supervisor, a man whose stern demeanor had initially been a source of added stress, approached Miller, his face etched with genuine contrition. He offered a sincere apology for his earlier doubts and a heartfelt commendation for Miller's unwavering faith in Axel and his decisive actions. Within hours, news crews descended upon the airport, their cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward, all eager to report on the incredible actions of the K9 team and the chaos that had been so narrowly sidestepped. Miller, ever humble, credited Axel, emphasizing the dog's unparalleled instincts. The investigation that followed was swift and exhaustive. Based on witness accounts and the trajectory of the attempted escape, authorities apprehended the individual responsible for planting the bomb within 12 hours, found attempting to board a small private plane at a nearby airfield. Their motive, as it unfolded in the subsequent interrogations, was revealed to be a deeply personal act of sabotage, targeting a specific flight carrying high-profile corporate executives involved in a contentious merger. The individual had hoped to create a diversion, a widespread panic that would allow them to flee the country undetected after causing maximum damage to their perceived enemies. Miller and Axel's actions had not only saved countless lives, but had also directly led to the capture of a dangerous criminal. Formal recognition and numerous awards quickly followed. Officer Miller was lauded for his bravery, his leadership under pressure, and his unwavering trust in his K9 partner. Axel, too, received accolades, a special medal for valor adorning his collar, his image plastered across national headlines. Yet, for Miller, the most significant reward was the profound, almost spiritual, deepening of the bond he shared with Axel. The incident had solidified, beyond any doubt, the unique and powerful connection they possessed. Their story resonated across the nation, becoming a testament to the extraordinary instinct and unwavering loyalty of K9 partners, highlighting the critical, often unseen, role they play in public safety. Miller often reflected on that day, the memory a stark reminder of the fragile balance between order and chaos. He thought about Axel's initial, seemingly erratic digging beneath the check-in counter, an act that had initially caused him so much concern and even frustration. What had seemed like a problem, a moment of canine disobedience, had in reality been their greatest salvation, a primal warning that bypassed human reason and went straight to the heart of imminent danger. Axel's unwavering focus, his desperate determination, had been the first, most crucial step in averting a catastrophe, a silent communication of peril that only a handler like Miller could have truly understood. Their partnership, forged in countless training exercises, had been tested in the fiercest of fires and emerged stronger, a beacon of hope and resilience. What an incredible story of bravery and instinct. If this extraordinary tale moved you, please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and leave a comment below telling us what you thought. And for more gripping true stories, click on the video recommended on your screen now.